that. So we do work together. There are controls in place, Chair, in SAPS. The issue is override by people and lack of consequence management, direct consequence management and accountability. So if we can sort out those issues and lead, and there's a tone at the top to say some of the things we are not supposed to tolerate as the SAPS leadership, I believe we will be able to deal with these particular issues. So we do work well with supply chain management. There are various forums. There is combined assurance forums. There is probity audits that the National Commissioner has introduced. We are supporting those processes to ensure that then we are able to can be proactive to pick up where there are gaps in the internal controls and we close those particular gaps. We do have a very effective risk management committee as well as audit committee. They keep us on our toes in terms of ensuring that we account for our actions in this regard. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, General. General, at the moment, and this is what we heard from the Auditor General just about 2 or 3 weeks ago, SAPS currently has almost 2.5 billion in investigated irregular expenditure, uninvestigated irregular expenditure, that has not been escalated to the relevant authority for finalization. Why has this not occurred, and what is the what timeline do you see or would you commit for to close these matters?
As I explained before, the history of this 2.4 billion that is lying on Part E of our annual report. If I'm correct, there's about 275 transactions lying there. The National Commissioner has instructed supply chain management to unpack and allocate these transactions to everyone, so that then there is accountability. There has been efforts, Chair, where around 111 transactions were submitted to National Treasury as the condoning authority. Upon interrogation, it may appear that National Treasury returned some of those transactions because of other information that was missing. So if you send to the condoning authority, you need to ensure that there is compliance in terms of the National Treasury framework. You should have investigated, there should have been discipline, you should have confirmed that there was no fraud, there was no corruption and all those things, and there was value for money. So when we interrogate with supply chain management, what exactly is the hold up? Because there is a bit of a slow process in dealing with this. They indicate that about 111 of such transactions were submitted to the condoning authority, and some of them, around 73, were returned because the National Treasury could not confirm the issues surrounding value for money. So subsequently, we have then requested the National Commissioner to delegate me in writing so that I can support supply chain management. During September, we have had a very progressive meeting with National Treasury. There is a team there that is willing to support us. They've given us directions and guidance in terms of how to deal with this. However, the ones that would have been returned by National Treasury without condonement, this delegation then gives me the authority, gives the accounting officer the authority to remove these transactions from the books. However, it is not just going to be a removal. You need to ensure that there is compliance in terms of paragraph 5.6 of the National Treasury framework, where there is a confirmation that indeed value was achieved, services were rendered, there was no fraud, the department did not suffer losses, and the relevant person who caused this irregular expenditure was held to account. So we have started that process. To this end, by Friday, the first 50 files are coming to me to sit with supply chain management to ensure that then we embark on this process. If we can deal with this 111, there are others that are already en route, others are with National Treasury to then deal with this condonement. Once they are condoned, then you are able to remove them from the register. Of the 2.4 billion, there is about 4 transactions that constitute 64% that are lying there. One has been condoned by National Treasury, therefore it will be removed. There is 2 that has been submitted to National Treasury. We are awaiting a response in this regard. I think there is another one, the RT 69. That is a contract, that is a transversal contract that the department had committed and that they are participating in, and then ultimately they withdrew without following the rules and so on and so on, and we declared that particular action irregular. It's about 237 million, if my memory serves me right. The National Commission has appointed an investigator to deal with the discipline part, and I suspect that by now that investigator should be done, so that then we can unpack in terms of the disciplinary investigation who must be held accountable in this regard. So once we then deal with this 237 of RT69, then we would have dealt with the bulk of this. So the 4 transactions that constitute 64% is actually 1.9 billion. If we can deal with this 4, we will see a movement in this, but we acknowledge the support that National Treasury is assisting us with. The team of General Fani is continuously engaging with National Treasury to ensure that then they assist us with those that we have submitted. I will be dealing with the ones that went to Treasury and Treasury did not condone them. So I will need to ensure that I support the accounting officer to deal with these things, and we clean this part E that is lying on our annual report.
Okay, General, 1 or 2 more questions. Just in terms of this word accountability, when it comes to SEM specifically, and I keep referring to that because out of the 6 of the material irregularities found by the Auditor General, I think 4 of them were under SEM, if I'm not mistaken. Would you support the Auditor General issuing a certificate of debt against the Divisional Commissioner of Supply Chain?
Since the Audit Amendment Act, the Auditor General has raised 5 material irregularities in the department. The process allows the accounting officer to put actions, their recommendations. The process allows the accounting officer to put action and to give feedback to the Auditor General. We are coordinating and supporting the accounting officer to give that feedback. I believe out of the 5, the accounting officer has up to so far been able to give sufficient feedback, of which Auditor General has been satisfied with such feedback. To this end, 1 material irregularity has been resolved. We are left with 4. Of the 4 that we are left with, the accounting officer is required by AGSA to provide continuous feedback. They assess it, they give us feedback. Up to so far, they have been satisfied with the feedback that the accounting officer has given, and the 4 will then be monitored or followed up in the next new audit cycle in this regard. It is an area that we take seriously. We support the accounting officer, and we ensure that those actions that were recommended by the AGSA to the accounting officer are implemented to the latter. In the event the accounting officer fails to implement those recommendations and there is no cooperation, the Audit Act empowers the AGSA then to issue the certificate of debt to the accounting officer. Up to so far, we have not arrived at that point where the accounting officer is not cooperating. He is cooperating, of course, with the support of all of us.
Thank you, General. Thank you, Chair. No more questions.
Honorable Cameron, have you asked all the questions you had on your list? Okay. Honorable Malema, your time starts now. It ends at 16 hours. Honorable Matthys, thank you so much.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, Lieutenant General. There's been 11 task teams. Well, as of now, there's 11 task teams. Have any of these task teams have had their financials audited, like as a task team, rather than part of the bigger SAPS audit?
The allocation of these funds, as I indicated earlier this morning, is allocated to the National Operational Center, which is a unit within Program 2. So when Program 2 is audited, all expenses...
Okay, I'm going to interrupt you because I have a little time, right? Just individually, so if we go to the PKTT, is there a financial, has there ever been just an audited statement done by the AG for each of them? No.
No. The
It's part
AG
of the bigger programs?
No, yeah.
Okay. Can you, as the CFO, do you have the mandate to request or have those individual budgets that have been allocated to these task teams or to any particular program audited independently by the AG in particular?
I can request, we do have a very effective internal audit. I can request if I suspect that there is...
Have you?
No, I have not.
Even now for the PKTT, after it has been all over the news, you haven't requested, at least I would have thought you would even go to the AG and say, AG, please, here's these documents, please audit. I'm going to the ad hoc committee and probably to the commission.
I think in October, I would, in October I had, when I was hearing all these indications in terms of the PKTT and expenditures, I then appointed a brigadier to conduct a determination for me, so that I also have an understanding as to what is going on in this regard.
Okay.
The
You
brigadier,
cannot, you are, I'm going to cut you off and I'm not being rude. I just wanted to know whether you went to the Auditor General rather than to
not
do it
the Auditor
internally.
General.
No.
Not the Auditor General. I just wanted
But
to...
do you
indicate-
have access to be able to do that also with the Medicare 2024? Because from what I understand, it's the audit process, you are doing it internally, the forensic audit.
Yes, the Auditor General has already looked into the Medicare 24.
Forensically, or it was just part of the
It
overall?
was part of the normal audit.
Yeah,
because-
that's what I thought.
yes,
So it
was
wasn't
part.
audited
It
by
was
the
part of
Auditor
the
General.
normal
Would you
audit.
consider having that done independently, both for the PKTT, specifically since we have both an ad hoc committee and a commission set up? Would you consider approaching the Auditor General to audit this, also in line of not just the financial spending, but also the impact?
It's not a problem. If such a need arises, we could do that. I spoke earlier about the issue of the impact assessment, that we have already tasked our research unit to then conduct the impact assessment, but it will not be harm if we could request an independent assessment of such processes.
Okay. So you don't see a need at the moment?
At the moment, as I indicated, I had already identified an experienced official to do an assessment.
No, I'm saying outside of internally. I'm saying externally. You don't see the need at the moment to approach the Auditor General to do a forensic audit on both the Medicare 24 and the PKTT.
The Medicare 24, there is already a forensic investigation. The PKTT...
But it's not the AG.
Yeah, it's not the AG,
Yeah, okay.
but it is our forensic. We do have capacity in terms of our own forensic audit, and they do collaborate with AGSA where there is a need for them to collaborate. So the outcome of this particular report will then determine if there is a need for us to even go further in this regard. But we believe that the current investigation, because it's also running parallel with a criminal investigation, will be sufficient to unearth whatever gaps that would have happened, and it will empower us to then take steps in this regard.
Thank you, CFO. Paragraph 14 to 16, we have the breakdown and expenditure comparisons between the PKTT and a few other task teams. So would you agree that the interventions, such as the stabilization operations, there was the gang interventions, major deployments, the PKTT was actually not funded excessively in comparison with the others, or did you just choose those ones because they were funded highly?
No, it was not funded extensively. We tried to compare apples with apples. When we look at this, it's within the same range.
So your concerns about so when you kept raising your concerns on the information notes when the request came in for the funding, was it on the amount of money that was spent, or was it more in relation to the time? Because we were now, the period that the team was going on, we were going on to 5 years now. What was your concern?
My concern was that clearly this task team was established to deal with it was a temporary task team. It was established to deal with a specific problem, but this problem is not going away. It is not. Actually, it might even be bigger than we realize. Now, for us to be able to can support this team, let's have a permanent team. And if you have it as a permanent standalone team, then you are able to resource it properly and you are able to budget for it properly, as opposed to not knowing whether it will exist in the next 3 months or not. So it was from a budget point of view in this regard. However, over the years, we have had fiscal challenges where we have seen our operational budget being reduced in this regard. So these are general concerns that one would raise in all areas of operations in the police, including these task teams, where you have cost containment measures or policies that are approved by the accounting officer, and everyone is expected to then comply to those cost containment policies to ensure that we prevent overspending or unauthorized expenditure to incur in the department. So these are not unusual. We always raise this to ensure that everyone accounts to the resources that are given to them, and we are able to account to taxpayers' monies.
Why do you think after 5 years the team wasn't set up to be permanent? What, in your opinion, why do you think the National Commissioner didn't move in that direction?
Perhaps the National Commissioner will be in a best position to respond to that. There is operational work and decisions that would have been taken as and when they evaluate from time to time, and they would have come to a conclusion to say this team must continue. So those perhaps in the operational space could shed more light in this particular regard. The concerns I raised was mainly from a budget point of view, because it then makes it a bit challenging if you operate a team in this particular model. But I believe there was work that was to be done, and decisions and evaluations and agreements would have been taken at operational level, having considered those issues, perhaps the intelligence issues from the project leader and so on and so on. So the National Commissioner, as well as the project leader and the head of operations, would perhaps be in a best position to can elaborate further in this regard.
Okay. And then just quickly, you speak about a work study report that you would have liked to be done. Do you know that there was another work study report that the minister was influenced by, the 2019 work study report that he said he used as one of the reasons for disbanding the PKTT? Are you aware of that work study report?
I'm aware of that work study report, and I believe I had signed or made comments within that work study report, and it was talking about enhancing capacity in terms of detective units and so on and so on. I'm aware of that report.
So why did you want another one? Was that one not efficient?
This one, for me, it was in particular on issues that are dealing with political killings in KwaZulu-Natal.
Okay.
So clearly there is a problem that is not going away. From a budget point of view, I can't be receiving applications every 2 months, every 3 months. Then it means we are not resourcing this team properly. In terms of decisions to say this work of the PKTT must then find expression in some units, that is the decision that is not taken by me. It is taken by the heads of crime detection. In this regard, it might be the Deputy National Commissioner working together with his management, and those decisions would then be taken by the National Commissioner in this regard. What I needed was stability for this team, and to ensure that resources are given and there is accountability should those resources be not utilized effectively.
So in your view, the 2019 work study report that the minister used as one of his reasons to disband was inefficient to deal with the issue of political killings task team in particular?
Perhaps that the decision to then implement that work study would have been a decision that the minister would have discussed with the National Commission.
Okay. Quickly, and on one of my favorite matters, we had Lieutenant General Fani here, and he explained in detail, a SAPS procurement, which was a blow to an average South African's head's minds. But SAPS outsources. You even outsource toilet paper. Like you outsource toilet paper. So in your experience as a CFO, and it's vast, do you agree that there's an over-reliant on outsourcing? And this is, well, number one, it leads to higher costs. Number two, we are sitting here because of tenders. It either leads to corruption, and then corruption obviously leads to murders. So given your experience, what in SAPS can be insourced and we should be able to build capacity? We are spending ridiculous amounts of money, even starting with this Medicare 24. That is a permanent, it's a core service of SAPS. In your opinion, as a CFO, how much money would we be able to save? I know we're putting you on the spot here, but if we were able to build capacity of SAPS just to be able to provide that, we probably wouldn't even be sitting here today, and we wouldn't have someone sitting in prison and sitting here if this thing of tenders.
Building capacity in terms of issues of insourcing requires massive undertaking from a fiscal point of view, from hiring personnel that are capable of carrying out those activities. I believe strategies are there to be reviewed. If you have employed a specific strategy and it's not working out for you, as an accounting officer or executive management, there is nothing stopping you from time to time pausing and interrogating why is it that this particular model or strategy is not working for me, and taking different decisions. We have insourced before. Our securities are insourced, our cleaners are insourced, and previously they were run in terms of contracts. So it is possible as organizations and institutions from time to time to sit and pause. And in particular, linking all this to risk management and efficiencies in the processes. But it requires the will, it requires resources in this particular regard, and capabilities that will then be in a position to can run with that you want to insource. As I indicate, insourcing has taken place before. We are insourcing our securities as well as our cleaners.
So all your security is insourced?
Yes.
Since when? Or has it always been that way?
It was outsourced prior to my arrival. I can't exactly remember the date when this insourcing did take place, but they are insourced.
So all the police stations, not just headquarters, all the police stations,
Yes.
it's all insourced. Cleaners?
Yes.
Oh, well done, SAPS. But can we also insource Medicare 2024?
This is a
And toilet paper.
It is a conversation that perhaps the organization must begin to sit around the table and engage in this particular conversation. I would certainly participate in such a conversation.
Yeah, we need an EFF government for that. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much, Honorable Matthias Bangazita.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Good afternoon, Lieutenant General. I don't have a lot of questions, but I just want to know where you got that money from to actually continue to fund the operations of the PKTT over a period of time when it was not budgeted for.
As I had indicated, after we receive our allocation from National Treasury, we embark on a massive process where we then apportion this allocation to cost centers. We do have a National Operation Coordination Center where we will allocate funding for various interventions in this regard. Within these financial constraints, then you embark on a reprioritization exercise. You will then look at the areas where you can save and ensure that there is money to support operations. So it is a continuous exercise that you do. You allocate, you identify priorities, operational priorities, you engage with the accounting officer, and you are able to can then support this. But of course, then it means other priorities have to, because you do have competing priorities, you will then have other priorities at the back foot in this particular regard. So it is an exercise that we embark upon to ensure that the little or the money that we have we extend it to ensure that we do our work and we are able to support all the priorities as would have been approved.
Thank you, General. You consistently raised your concerns to the National Commissioner about the expenditure patterns of the PKTT, but you are conspicuously silent about other operations, special teams such as the illicit mining, which over a period of 2.5 years had actually, spent more than R1 billion. Why is that?
I raise concerns on almost all these interventions. You will see that on my annexures, there would be submissions made to the accounting officer where all these interventions would have been assessed in this regard. So for the purposes of this testimony, I was requested to focus on the PKTT. The illicit mining is a newly established intervention, as I indicated, and we appreciate that the CARA committee was able to approve these funds for us to be able to can intervene in provinces that are battling with this particular issue. So this is special funding that was earmarked and allocated from CARA funding to say, US law enforcement go and deal with issues of illicit mining in this particular regard. So this money is specifically for that. It is allocated for that, and we expect that it is managed and there is accountability in this regard. So it's earmarked for that particular specific operation, because when we applied, we said, CARA committee, we want to have interventions that will then assist us as law enforcement to deal with this problem that is troubling us across provinces. So approval was granted to say this funding is specific for this particular operation. If you want to depart and take this money, utilize it somewhere, you must go back to CARA committee to explain and to get approval in this regard.
Thank you, General. In your interaction with the National Commissioner over the budgetary issues as they affect the PKTT, you actually had always recommended that the PKTT should be deactivated. That's the word you used.
Not always, Chair.
But there are a number of times.
It's only once, Chair.
In your statement.
It's only once.
Okay, but you had actually called for the deactivation of the PKTT. And my concern is that somewhere in paragraph 13.14 of your evidence, you are actually saying that when I made these comments, the comments that we have just been talking about, I was not briefed, nor was I aware of the work of the PKTT. How would you call for the deactivation of something whose work you are not familiar with?
In other provinces, Chair. The context that I want to give is that my comments were saying deactivate a temporary structure, put together a permanent structure, give it to General Mokwanazi in KZN, because it was, my understanding was that it was established to deal with the problems in KZN. It has since emerged that it is then, the scope has been extended. In those operational decisions, I am normally not called. It will be operational decisions where the project leader briefs the National Commissioner and those that are supposed to be briefed. So decisions will be taken to say this particular work of the PKTT extends beyond KwaZulu-Natal. They are now in other provinces. So where we differed with the National Commissioner was saying, this team cannot be localized in KwaZulu-Natal. Clearly he knew the decisions that they had taken. Clearly he knew the operational work that this team is dealing with in terms of the expansion of the scope. Those are the discussions that normally I would not be invited to such operational meetings, but I take cue and guidance from the meeting office. I will make comments from a budget point of view and a planning point of view, but the operational decisions are the National Commissioner. I can't instruct the National Commissioner to say, close this team. It is not my decision. So clearly he knew that the work this team is doing well and the work goes beyond KwaZulu-Natal. This is why it cannot be localized in KwaZulu-Natal. So the ultimate decision maker is the National Commissioner. That is why when I raise concerns with the relevant managers, they will go back, they will convene themselves through the National Crime Combating Forum, evaluate this. They will sit and evaluate and take decisions and go and approach the National Commissioner to say, we have evaluated this, we believe that the crime threat still exists and this team must continue. And the National Commissioner will agree, they will put together a request for additional funding which will come to me, and we will then interact with the National Commissioner and support the efforts in terms of crime fighting.
General, one of the reasons advanced by the Minister when he was here, or even in his directive to disband the PKTT, was that it was a financial drain, which has caused a lot of pressure on the budget. And a point which was supported by even Mary Dihas, that this task team had actually outlived its usefulness, and therefore it must be disbanded. So I was just wondering that in the context of your continued, concern about its spending pattern,
It was not
what was your reaction when you heard on the 2nd of January
I want to put,
that indeed it had actually been disbanded?
I want to put it on record that that concern was not continued. The comment was made once, and I had reasons, and I've explained the reasons throughout this testimony in terms of what was my reasoning for that. It was once. In terms of the testimony of the minister, I can confirm that the minister has never asked me about the PKTT budget, nor have he ever requested that I provide reports and analysis in terms of the task teams. Those are the conversations that I have with the National Commissioner as I report to the National Commissioner.
Of your statement, General, you are actually saying that you never had any interaction with the minister about the financial issues relating to the PKTT. Then I wonder where he got the information from to base his decision to actually disband, if it was not from the CFO of the organization.
I cannot vouch for that, Chair.
I'm not saying that it would have been wrong for you to share that information with the minister. I mean, the minister is a minister of the department. But you categorically actually said that you have never shared that information.
On the PKTT.
Thank you. Okay. When General Sbiya was here, he told us that Mr. Matlala is very familiar in the corridors of the SAPS, echelons there. Do you know, have you ever met Mr. Matlala?
I have never met Mr. Matlala. I do not know Mr. Matlala.
General Sbiya also went on to tell us that Mr. Matlala actually came to visit him in his office in the company of his lawyer to complain about the non-payment that was outstanding from SAPS. And I imagine that would actually be a matter that needed the attention of the CFO. Did you not meet Mr. Matlala on that particular day?
No, Chair.
Okay. Well, thank you, Honorable Chairperson. That's all I had for the General. Thank you, General.
Thank you.
Honorable Malema.
Just a quick follow-up, Chair, on the insourcing of security, because the CFO must remember she's under oath. She just answered that she has insourced all the securities everywhere, not only at office and cleaners. I just wanted to be sure about that because it doesn't look like that is the case.
I'm not aware of any tender or any procurement that has been undertaken by the department in relation to security services. I'm not aware. I'm aware that I do have securities that are on my payroll.
But I'm told that the KZN building, provincial office, is looked after by private security.
By?
Private security.
I'm not aware of that.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Honorable Sols.
Thank you, Chair. Am I audible? Am I audible? Can you hear me, Chair?
I can hear you now. I don't know if the witness is hearing you.
Should I change? Oh, that's better.
Are you hearing Honorable Sols, General Dimpan? Can you hear him?
It's very soft, Chair.
Very soft. Should I change seats with Honorable?
You can come and sit here.
No. I'm too small for that seat, Chair.
The last person who sat next to me was Miss Meriti Haas.
Is this better, General?
It is better, Chair.
Good afternoon to you.
Tenant.
General, the testimony of Minister Nkulu, in his testimony he claimed that the PKTT has shown budget inefficiencies and rising costs. And for this reason, that was one of the reasons why he called for disbandment. Do you agree with him?
I have not discussed the budget or the PKTT with the minister as the CFO.
But based on your knowledge of the cost implications, do you agree with him?
As we had indicated on Annex B and a comparison that we had made, these are the normal operational costs that interventions as well as task teams will incur in this regard to deal with crime patterns as well as crime threats that would have been identified by the National Commissioner working together with his operational teams. So these are the costs that we normally spend. However, it does not necessarily mean that if there is a task team that is established and funding is available, then there shouldn't be systems in place to ensure that there are efficiencies as well as cost control or cost containment in this particular regard. But when you look at other task teams there, depending on the decisions that would have been taken, whether to demobilize or to reduce the number of personnel that will have been deployed, these are some of the normal costs that we normally incur. And I take cue from the National Commissioner together with his operational teams, because they are the ones who are responsible to ensure that they prevent and combat crime in this country. If they sit in their operational meetings and they evaluate and they come to a
Sorry,
conclusion.
General, sorry. Just because the time is very short, does what you just explained, does it mean you agree or you disagree with the minister?
I would not know how the minister would have come to that conclusion without a report or an indication being made to him.
Well, he's making an allegation, and that's what we are testing here. He's making an allegation. You are the authority on saying whether that allegation is true or not. So he says PKTT has shown budget inefficiencies and rising costs. He made an allegation. Now I'm asking you to either confirm it or not. You are the authority there to say, no, Minister is wrong, there's no budget inefficiencies there.
I cannot confirm because the operational decisions are taken by the accounting officer, unless if he would have engaged the accounting officer.
So you don't have a position, you don't have a position of agreement or disagreement with the statement, no? Okay, let's look at your statement in paragraph 13.3. Let's see whether it is indeed true that you don't have such concerns. Paragraph 13.3, you say that Lieutenant General Mkwanazi made a submission that he signed for 58.5 million rand. And then you say, at the time, the DMC responsible for policing was General Masimola, who is now the National Commissioner. And he signed, and General, is it Tumani that signed and wrote the recommendation, but you then raised the concern to say that there was 2 signatures missing, but it was submitted to your office, and you raised the concern. Is that correct?
It's incorrect. I've never raised any concern about missing signatures.
You raised the concern here.
It's not a concern. I'm just articulating what was sitting on that submission.
Okay, so are you saying that that request did not require the signatures of...
It did. This is the record or the document that I do have.
So I'm asking you, if it did require, if the normal process is that those signatures are required, is that correct for them to do?
I did not raise any concern. The ultimate approval in terms of these expenses was done by the National Commissioner. From time to time, the operational environment, they evaluate these interventions, and they then are requested to put together either requests for funding or reports, progress reports to the National Commissioner. So I did not raise any concern in terms of this. It's just a document that I'm indicating that where this matter comes from, because for the purposes of testimony, I was to focus on PKTT. So I'm outlining the order of events in terms of what happened, when, who said what.
All right, so it wasn't wrong for them to do that. It wasn't wrong.
There would have been reasons why those signatures were outstanding, but the ultimate approval was made by the National
Was it wrong to submit to you without signatures or not?
Documents must be signed by everyone.
So it was wrong.
For me, this is not raised as a concern.
It's fine, but was it wrong? Now that it's here, I'm asking you what's before me. Was it wrong?
Other signatures should have been found.
So it was wrong.
In terms of this document, if you put it that way, however, I want to emphasize that the allocation of funding to PKTT is approved by the accounting officer. Ultimately, the final allocation was approved by the accounting officer. So this is not raised as a concern. It is just explaining the order of events and where this PKTT comes from and the work that has been done and the discussions and the reports and a lot of documents that have gone on in this regard.
Let's move on to your letter dated the 29th of September 2020. Page 73. Page 73.
Yes.
Paragraph 3, are you there?
13.7.
Well, I'm looking at your annexure bundle, page 73.
73.
Hey, Che, you must pause the clock.
Next chair 73, I'm there.
Are you there?
I am, Chair.
Okay. as Section 3.
Yes.
Would you agree that here you are raising concern?
Yes.
You are?
It was a letter that was addressed to the relevant line
Okay,
managers.
but you are raising a
Yes,
concern.
I am
All right.
raising concerns.
I just wanted to confirm so that we don't dispute on that. Let's deal with what your concern was. Number one, you say overtime expenditure in the 2020-21 financial year is not visible against the project code. ORS should correct such for transparency purposes.
Yes.
So it was wrong.
When projects and initiatives are put in place for purposes of reporting and transparency, I indicated that we create a project code and we expect all managers to then vest expenditure against that project code.
Yes.
Yes, they were wrong that for that particular period in terms of expenditure, that was not vested against that project code. So from a monitoring point of view and accountability, I could not see such. So I'm putting it to their attention so that they correct.
You've done well. I
and
agree with you.
they did correct such.
I agree with you. You've
Yes.
done very well to raise that concern, to say this is a budgetary inefficiency,
Yes.
right? And that's what you're saying to them. And that's what the minister has said in his testimony. Then you go further and you say overtime claims of most individuals deployed for the project depicted that 100 hours of overtime was worked for most months. Then you say even during lockdown, when movement restrictions were enforced in April and May, these individuals continued to work 100 hours of overtime.
Yes.
And then you also express concern that the overtime amount is high and it is adding to the pressure of the limited funding that's available to SAPS.
Yes, I raised those concerns with the Deputy National Commissioner.
You've done
This
very
is
well.
the policy.
You've done extremely well. And this now corroborates the allegation of rising costs.
But I did not write this letter to the minister.
That's
It
good.
was a letter that was written to the Deputy National Commissioner. These are the normal concerns that as CFO, when you monitor expenditure patterns, you will then
General,
deal
would you
with these
agree
particular issues.
that the letter doesn't have to be written to the minister for the allegation to be true? The allegation is true that the PKTT, based on your testimony,
I have not been called to present
you are
such
testifying today.
to the minister.
Well, you're testifying to us now, and your testimony is agreeing with the position of the minister.
I have not been called by the minister to present this
We're
analysis.
calling you, and in front of us, what you've given to us agrees with the minister.
I
Whether
do
the
not
min-
know where would the minister have gotten a brief.
It doesn't matter. I also don't know. What I know is the testimony of the minister and your testimony on the fact that the PKTT, there's budget inefficiencies and there is rising costs. Both of you are saying the same thing.
Chair, on my testimony, I've said these are normal concerns that we raise with the relevant managers, including the National Commissioner. They go back, they regroup, they then consider this and they ensure that they assist us with efficiencies as well as cost containment. Together with the analysis of crime patterns and the situations that they're trying to sort out, then decisions, operational decisions are taken. And we get requests for funding, having taken those decisions by the accounting officer together with the relevant operatives, the accounting officer approves. It does not necessarily mean that when I raise this, they are not taken into account. If you look at other interventions, you will see a decline in terms of cost. It then tells you that managers would have set, evaluated, and decided to say, here we have stabilized, the crime threat is no longer visible, let us reduce the deployment in this particular regard. So these are normal decisions and conversations that take place in an organization, and the accounting officer accounts and is the ultimate approval in this particular regard. There would be progress reports that are compiled by the NCCF or the relevant project managers to the National Commissioner to say, yes, we hear the concerns. However, the work that we are doing, the situation that we are dealing with requires that we maintain these numbers, or requires us, we are satisfied that we have stabilized, we are hereby then sort of reducing the number of deployments. So these are normal things that we do as the police as we continue to do our work. But as CFO, it is my responsibility to monitor and raise these particular issues. It doesn't mean that when I raise them, then task teams must be closed. Doesn't mean that. And the closure of the task teams is not my decision. As I indicated, it's a decision of the National Commissioner, having considered that we wanted to deal with has been dealt with. I raise concerns every day on everything, not only on operations. We have cost containment policies that we have approved, that we expect each and every manager to assist us, that the resources that we have, as limited as they are, we are able to utilize them to ensure that we combat crime in this country and ensure that the people of this country are safe. It is my job.
But based on your professional opinion, you do testify today that what you've put before us is concerns of budgetary inefficiencies and rising costs. Correct?
I've raised these concerns with the relevant line manager.
Is that answer yes?
I've raised these concerns, yes, with the relevant line manager.
All right. You say that you haven't spoken to the minister
About the PKTT.
but you had an opportunity to. In July 2024,
5 meetings to be precise.
but in July 2024, you did a presentation to him,
Yes.
correct?
It was July, it was August, we had September, we also had June this year.
Did you raise the issue of the PKTT with him?
No.
Could you have done so?
If I was requested.
Sorry?
I would have been requested to do so.
So he needed to request for you to talk about
When
it.
we are
Whereas,
when
what was
we-
the purpose of the presentation?
When we are called to go and orientate the executive authority, we don't go there on our own. It will be a meeting that is coordinated by ministry through the Office of the National Commissioner, and you will be told that we are having a meeting with the executive authority and this is the purpose of the meeting, and you ought to prepare a report in terms of these requirements. That is why we indicated that in the first report it was an introductory briefing to the minister. In the second report, it was financial matters pertaining to the police, because the minister was new. We needed to orientate him. In the second briefing, then as and when you report, he will identify other indicators that he would want further information on. Issues, concerns such as issues that civil claims, issues of...
Did he ask you to tell him that crime intelligence needs capacity?
Yes.
He asked you to tell you that?
In the
He
meeting...
asked you to tell you that? You
Sorry?
prepared the presentation.
Sorry?
In your presentation, you then go in detail in saying that crime intelligence needs to be capacitated.
As I indicated...
Now I'm asking you, based on that, in your presentation, did the minister, prior to you presenting, ask you to present on crime intelligence?
You would go and present, Chair.
Yes.
As and when you present...
So he
there
didn't
are-
ask you.
May I be allowed to conclude?
It's just because of my time, General.
You will be given indicators to say, we will have to have a follow-up meeting. These are the following indicators. I want you to touch on issues that talks to capacity.
General Dumpana, you stop speaking. May we please take Honorable James.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Thank you, General.
Chair, have you forgotten?
Yeah, before Honorable James, I've noted Honorable Novalo for follow-up.
Yes. No, a follow-up question on Honorable James's first question. Well, on Honorable Saul's. My apologies. No, the question was to the CFO was whether she agrees or not with the concern of the minister, the budgetary concern. And the response was that, she doesn't know where the minister took that from, and she can't say she agrees or she doesn't with the minister. Now the question is, CFO, are you in terms of the statutory obligation, you are the custodian of the financial affairs of SAPS, correct?
I'm appointed to assist the accounting officer to execute his responsibilities.
No, in relation to financial issues.
Yes.
You are the custodian. So if I can come and say SAPS in its account as 100 rand, you have a responsibility to correct me if I'm wrong, because you are in a better position to give clarity in that regard, correct?
Yes.
You can say Nomvalo is lying, we don't have 100 rand in our account, we have this amount, these are the records. Now also, it's peculiar for you. I find it peculiar and imprudent and evasive that you can, like you are just an ordinary person, say you are not in a position to either agree or disagree with the minister, because you know better than all South Africans the financial positions, the financial position of SAPS. So for you to say you can't agree or disagree with the minister, I think that is being dismissive and evasive.
Chair, it would have been easy if one would have been requested to make presentations and to engage in this particular regard. However, it is my view that between the minister and the national commissioner, there are continuous conversations. So one is not in a position to can talk on the issue of the PKTT to say what was in front of the minister at that point
not the
in time.
PKTT, but the budgetary concern.
Honorable,
I didn't know I'm allocated.
your time has expired.
I didn't know. You didn't tell
Yeah.
me there's allocation of time.
It was it was not opportunistic.
No, but I'm not being opportunistic. I'm being inquisitive. What do you mean, Chair? Now you are ridiculing my follow-up question. I'm being inquisitive. I'm not opportunistic.
Let's not debate it.
Please don't label my follow-up question like that.
Yeah,
Please. I'm taking offense on what you are doing.
The time to ask.
But don't label my question like that and say I'm opportunistic.
Yeah, no, listen to me, Honorable Nomvan. Your questions were follow-ups, yes. But once you go beyond the reasonable time, you are opportunistically using that moment to smuggle yourself into a time you do not have.
But you should have told me how much time is allocated for follow-ups.
That is not for debate. That is a convention in this.
But I'm correcting your ruling. It's wrong.
Look, your time has expired, honorable members. Let's not take it any further. Can we go to Honorable James?
Thank you so much, Chair. Afternoon, General. On page 21 of your statement, just excuse my voice.
Paragraph
21.
Paragraph 20.
Page 21, paragraph 25.
Yes, Chair.
In relation to the work study report, you state there, I wish to state clearly that I have not given anyone permission to access the submission nor utilize it to their defense. I deem this as unauthorized and an abuse of a conversation that the CFO had with the accounting officer. What did you do about this?
I have...
Because this is a very serious statement that you make here.
I have not done anything about it. What I then tried to do was to say, perhaps we must, because this was also on the media, and you will see on the media that the entire comment is not there. It's only the comment that talks about deactivation. So I had requested communication that perhaps we need to correct this, and I was advised to say, you know, let's allow the commission as well as the committee to do its work, because it will not be prudent that every time something is out there in the media, we issue a statement and so on and so on. But I have not done anything to say, let me report this. But for me, it would have been best that those that wanted to use this, at least they ask me, what did I mean in this regard? But I have not done anything.
General,
in
you
this
spoke very passionately about this earlier on.
Yes.
In your statement here, when you said, I have not given anyone permission to access it, that in my mind tells me that people stole from your office, that people stole a document and used it without your permission. That means in your office there's a risk when it comes to accessing documents.
No, Chair.
And you have done nothing about it.
No, Chair. This document is not sitting in my office. It is an application from the project leader. It goes through the stages, as I indicated earlier, up until the approving authority approves, which is the National Commission, and then it goes back to its origin or to the author. What I do have a copy. So there's a likelihood that it is at NOCC or it is where it originated. So I am not the custodian of this particular document. What was just strange for me was that the document is used, and the comments that I have made, that I had only the conversation with the accounting officer, that without understanding the context of where I came from, people decided to utilize it. But I'm not the custodian. It goes back to the author of that submission. I remain with a copy.
Thank you. Are you saying that the minister came here and he misled this committee?
I'm not saying that. I'm saying the document was utilized and I was not aware in terms of that, because if I was aware, I could have explained the context of this. I was not aware that it will be utilized by himself, including General Sibia.
General, Minister Beki appeared before this parliament. He refuted the use of the word, the letter N for national, in reference to the national PKTT, which Minister Nkunu repeatedly emphasized. More importantly, to your knowledge, was the PKTT, the establishment, national or provincial? Because which one of the two ministers were lying? Was it Minister Beki or Minister Nkunu?
I've always known this team to be called PKTT. Though I had not participated in IMC meetings, but I've known it to be called PKTT.
All right, so you were saying that Minister Nkunu again misled this House.
I am not certain in terms of the NPKTT.
General, you said earlier on that people don't take accountability for their actions, and we need you to speak truth here today. I'm asking, did you think that the minister misled this House?
I do not participate in the IMC
General,
structures.
Can you conclude that part which you wanted to say before you answer the next question?
I have always known this team to be called the PKTT. I do not participate in the INC structures and all those structures that the project leader together with the National Commissioner would be participating. For the purposes of my function, which is to confirm funding, I have always known this team to be called PKTT. I cannot confirm to say the minister misled. Perhaps such discussions did take place elsewhere, but I cannot vouch for such.
But General, you can confirm because you did the budget allocation.
To the PKTT?
Yes. So you can confirm whether it was provincial or national, because you did the budget allocation, and when I look at your budget allocation, it speaks to all the areas within KZN only. So why are you saying you cannot confirm?
What I indicated is that all operations are run from the National Operations Center. When intervention centers teams are put in place, that decision is taken by the National Commissioner to go and support a province. For the purposes of a PKTT, it was established to deal with the situation in KwaZulu-Natal. The issue to say it had then expanded its scope, that particular operational decision, I was not aware of. I do not participate in the IMC structures and all that, and these decisions are taken by the project leaders working together with the National Commissioner in this regard. The reason why I had said put together a permanent structure in KwaZulu-Natal, I was of the view that this team is supporting KwaZulu-Natal, but the money that is utilized is not the baseline of KwaZulu-Natal. It is money that would have been put together from national in addition to supporting the work that is taking place in KwaZulu-Natal. So whether the end then came into being, those would be best explained between the minister as well as the National Commission. I have always known it as a
General, I
PKTT.
put it to you that only in the end, the National Commissioner had then said that the scope of the PKTT needs to extend to national. Am I correct?
Yes.
So in meaning initially that the work was not for national, it was for provincial, and you allocated that budget for provincial operations.
For the PKTT, which
Yes,
was
for the
established.
PKT, you allocated, you signed off the budget.
Yes.
So why are you saying that you're not sure if it was national or if it was provincial?
The Chair, the NPKTT, I'm saying I've known this team to be called PKTT.
General, I want to move to another area of concern relating to budget. The money set aside for informants is astronomical. And with my understanding of how the system works, I want to raise a few questions about the expenditure on informants, right? How was 3 million monitored in relation to cash disbursements to informants?
May I ask, Chair, which page is the member on?
Somewhere, I now didn't allocate that page. Never mind the amount for the sake of time. How do you monitor the cash payments of informants?
There are policies that exist in terms of within crime detections and those that utilizes this in terms of ensuring that these monies are accounted for. We do have policies in place. Of course, you will then have the other account, which is the Secret Service account that has its own processes. So there are policies in place and the relevant officials within crime detection, crime intelligence that then are supposed to ensure compliance to those policies.
General, I'm going to say to you, crime intelligence is stealing this money. There has been allegations of crime intelligence misusing this money for the longest time ever. I'm asking you, as the handler of the purse, you are allocating these budgets. How are you in your capacity ensuring that this money gets spent and on the right things and we have value for money?
Check.
What do you have in your receipt? We know that there's policies for all of these things. I'm asking, what monitoring tools do you have in place to ensure that when you allocate 3 million for informants, 3 million was actually allocated and given to those informants?
Crime intelligence has 2 sets of budget, Chair. I have not had any complaints in terms of the open budget that I am responsible for. One has had complaints in terms of the Secret Service account, which has its own CFO and its own rules that is managing and governing that particular. But on the open budget, I have not had any complaints in terms of program for
So,
allocation.
General, do you rely on complaints to pick up misconduct and corruption?
If
I'm
there are-
asking you what monitoring tools, you are assigning huge budgets, what monitoring tools do you have in place?
If there are complaints, it means the internal controls that we have in place are either inadequate and inefficient. We do have policies, we do have controls in place, we have sufficient safeguards. So the absence of complaints then tells you that your systems are adequate in this regard.
Let me ask it like this. What system exists to manage and track how much money is paid to whom and for what information?
In terms of crime intelligence Secret Service account, that I will not be in a position to respond. It has its own CFO and they account to different levels of structures in this particular area.
So you are passing this one on to the crime intelligence CFO. You are saying this is not
I'm
under
not
your mandate.
responsible
This is,
for the Secret Service account.
you're not responsible for the Secret Service, even though you
I'm not, it has its own CFO.
okay. General, task teams are generally immediate stabilization interventions, correct?
Yes.
You explained it nicely earlier on.
Yes, Chair.
Okay. What sort of justifies having a task team for 5 years?
As I indicated, the operational teams together with the National Commissioner continuously conduct crime threat patterns, crime pattern analysis, and they take decisions to stabilize and to support provinces or any areas that remain stubborn. Some of the areas sometimes remain stubborn and they require these interventions. For me, as I indicated, my knowledge of a task team is that it is established for a specific purpose, for a specific period. If it becomes a little bit longer, then it means it is dealing with a permanent problem. That is why then, from a resource point of view, one would have advised to say, why is it that we are not putting this as a permanent structure so that we can resource it properly? Obviously, the operatives would have then done their crime patterns and analysis and taken decisions in terms of what is prevailing on the ground and those challenges that they are dealing with. My understanding is that investigations do take time. Certain investigations and investigators will have dockets that will go to court and take years and so on and so on, but the operational environments are the ones that takes the ultimate operational decisions based on what they would have analyzed and what is on the table and the intelligence that they might have.
I want to ask Operation Lockdown Thunder, what has been the value for money for SAPS with this operation, which has shown blatant failures in the Western Capes? In fact, it has gotten worse, with a budget of almost 500 million being spent with little to show for it.
Earlier, during the day on my testimony, I indicated that is a question that I'm interested in. In SAPS, we do not have a model that assesses the value for money in terms of operations.
Sorry, General, you said that that is a question you are interested in, meaning that you will continue to sign off on budgets without having a clear indication
No,
of
Chair.
whether the STARS team is being
No,
effective
Chair.
and whether there's value for money.
No, Chair. That is why we have tasked our research environment to, one, conduct an impact study on all these operations. And my understanding is that they are done with Valamgodi intervention as well as the lockdown. But that impact assessment report has not been presented to anyone. Over and above that, then they are developing a value for money model for us. And that is as a result of a task that came directly from myself and my team, because we want to ensure that the investment that we make in terms of these interventions yield the necessary results. So we are in the process of finalizing this. There is a commitment that before the end of March, the value for money model would have been given to us, because we need support from that. But indication is that it's not easy. A lot of variables have to be taken into account. A lot of stakeholders have to be consulted in this particular regard. So it is an area that we are working on. One is interested to ensure that then the SAPS has a model that we can utilize to assess all these interventions and ultimately be able to give comfort that these interventions are value for money.
General, 5 years of spending millions on various STARS teams. Had it not been for General Mokonazi's press state conference, would you have embarked on developing a practice that will be able to determine the impact of these STARS teams?
We requested it in 2024 in October.
In 2024, so prior to that, so every year for 5 years, you've been funding over 11 task teams, not knowing what its impact is, and that is okay with you?
I have written to the relevant managers. You will see in some of the attachments that I've made as part and parcel of the concerns to say they must determine whether the threats still exist, what is the impact, what is the value for money in this particular regard. As I indicated, they will convene the operatives and do evaluations and take operational decisions approved by the accountants. office. I have raised these particular issues. Now, we need a model, Chair, that we can utilize. We don't have that model. That is why we took the initiative in 2024 in October, prior to the press conference of July 6. We have already taken initiatives, and we look forward to that particular model that we can implement across the country to ensure that we are in a position to can assess and monitor this. Of course, the work of the police overall is measured in terms of the decline in crime trends. You will see the release of crime statistics, the work that the police continued to do, and the inroads that they continue to make in this regard. But that model, we're looking forward to it. It will assist the department to ensure that all these investments that we have made, we are able to give comfort that it is yielding the desired results.
General, how far is that model and when is its due date to be rolled out?
The head research has given a commitment that before the end of this financial year, that model will be ready.
Thank you, Chair.
Have you stopped speaking, General Timpan? This was our last speaker during this session.
It's Mitch. I'm not the last, I'm the second last.
I'm saying during this session. This was our last speaker. Yeah. So we're going to take a break now and come back after 15 minutes. Yes. We normally sit with a witness for a maximum of 3 hours, unless if there are time pressure. So it is 3 hours now. Let's give the witness time for a stretch break. We will come back at 15 minutes past, at 5 minutes past 5.
But Chair, are we going to make follow-up after the break? Thank you.
There is nobody who will be denied time to speak in this committee. You know it's an established practice.
No.
we must resume the proceedings. Honorable members, before we Honorable Skosana, before we proceed, I want to note hands of members who want to ask follow-up questions. Okay. Let's do this. Honorable Skosana, Honorable Nomvalo, Honorable Sols, Honorable Skosana, Honorable Shongwe, Honorable Sols, Honorable Mwangu. Each one of you will not go beyond 3 minutes. That is inclusive of questions and answers. These are follow-up questions. Honorable Skosan, after 3 minutes, you stop answering.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to make a follow-up on the that matter of 24 million. If I remember very well, you distance yourself on that as well, am I right? That you make a recommendation, or have you done a recommendation on that 24 million?
That matter of the 24 million was subsequently raised as a material irregularity by the AGSA. And we worked on that with the accounting officer in terms of responding in the relevant environment. And a lot of work had gone in by our legal department in trying to resolve that particular issue. Eventually, then the matter was regarded as resolved in terms of a material irregularity. So it was picked up by AGSA as a material irregularity.
Yeah, but my question, CFO, did you sign that for that 24 million?
When legal services dealt with that particular matter, they came back and indicated that the department was at fault in terms of a breach of contract, and they recommended that a settlement be made. I had to then, I was included on the submission. I did sign off with comments.
Sorry, did you sign?
I signed with comments to say the people who are responsible for such must be held to account.
In fact, that's what I needed, that in my knowledge, you made a recommendation.
Legal services made a recommendation. The submission went through the processes in terms of various levels of signatures, and it came to my office after the recommendation from legal services. It's legal department who made a recommendation. Looked at the recommendation and the background of the matter and the recommendation from legal services. I then said, based on the facts and the legal opinion that is on the table, I recommend on condition that a knowledgeable person is appointed to investigate, to determine who was responsible for this.
Yeah, but I agree on that you wrote, you had some comments.
Yes.
But you did sign for this.
Yes, I signed the
Thank you,
submission.
Chair. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, we will come back to you, Honorable Malema. Let's take Honorable Shongwe.
Chair, I think I was covered by Honorable Skosana, but I just wanted to know just one thing on that matter of this 24 million. When you signed for that on that document, does that mean you agreed with the recommendations that they stated, not that you stated?
It's an opinion and a recommendation by our legal department to the accounting officer.
Did you agree with what they said?
I recommended on condition that the relevant people who are responsible for that matter are held to account.
Is that on the same document? That your
It's on the
recommendation, are they on the same document?
Yes, they are on the same document.
Thank you.
Honorable Sols.
General, what is the highest and the lowest overtime paid? Are you able to tell us?
Paid to?
Well, you can tell us if you want to individualize it.
Chair, we have 5 programs where we allocate funding for overtime. The work of those 5 programs, or the work that is conducted by the people who are linked to those programs, differ. So you will not have the level of overtime paid to those that are doing administration as compared to those that are doing the actual policing. So I do not have an amount, however, it depends on the work that those members are doing.
So in the case of the PKTT,
Chair, when you look at the PKTT, since its inception, the highest amount up to so far would be recorded in 2019-2020, that is 26 million or 26.4 million. As I indicated, you will see a 0 there for this financial year. I am aware that the members are continuously working and they are required from time to time to perform duties in terms of overtime. So there will be claims that will be captured there.
Sorry, General.
But the 26 million that was recorded during the 2019-20 appears to be the highest amount in terms of PKTT.
Are you in a position to say the individual who had the highest overtime and the individual that had the lowest time?
I do not have those
Overtime.
records.
You don't have those? Thank you.
Honorable Mwango.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Mine is on actually page 21. I think it's paragraph 25, where you actually have expressed that you agree with the National Commissioner on the PKTT being actually transformed into a permanent, structure. But where you disagree is that the National Commissioner feels that the PKTT should be a national structure, not a provincial structure in KwaZulu-Natal. Should not be confined to KwaZulu-Natal only. My interest is, where are you now with this discussion?
Having learned about the extended scope and the work that the team continues to do, I believe that I support that there be a national structure, because the political killings are not confined in one province. You do have pockets of incidents in other provinces. I will support the National Commissioner in this regard.
Honorable Malema.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to ask, this March 2023 shutdown, which costs 368 million, which one is that one? CFO. 368,000. Which one is that one? 300 million. 368 million.
There was a match somewhere in March that was called a shutdown. Our duty as the police is to ensure that we protect the citizens.
No,
as
I
well
hear
as
that you are doing so well in the
they are
morning. Don't do that
they
to
are
us.
property.
I'm asking which shutdown is this one, which
It's a
costed
March-
us 368.
It's
So
a March-
let's say to July 23. We know it was a protest about President Zuma. Which one is this one? Of 368 million. You wrote it here, we didn't write it here.
Yes, there was a national shutdown. My memory is losing me, Chair, in terms of what was the actual issue in this particular regard, but I know it was in March. As I indicated, March you close the books, so you would have captured your few claims. Those that you would not have concluded, then you conclude them in April. That is why you see expenditure going into the next financial year, but it was for the same reason. My memory is leaving me. I can't recall exactly what was the issue, but there was a national shutdown during that particular period, that we needed to deploy and ensure that we protect, or we ensure that then is stability in terms of those provinces that would have been affected by this much.
But if you were talking about EFF national shutdown, was one day. It was in March 2023, one day, costed you 368 million.
It depends on the numbers of the members that you are deployed to go and support the affected provinces. These are operational decisions that are made to ensure that we are effective in terms of policing public order issues and ensuring that there is stability in the country.
So I wanted to ask the General, that was not necessarily my question. My follow-up was, during lockdown, COVID lockdown, only essential services were allowed to work, and that will include police. Why should an impression be created that police were less working during COVID, as if they too were locked down? They were not locked down.
They were not locked down, but
Your time is up, Honorable Member.
Oh, time is up.
Your time is up, Honorable Member. Honorable Sangon.
Thanks, Chair. No, I wanted to go to that march of the EFF that cost the country 400 million to protect a non-starter. But my round of questions is coming now, Chair, so I'll raise it then. Thank you.
You see what she's doing, and we're going to come threefold like that, and she's going to be a crybaby. She does that all the time, and when we attend to her, she cries like a crybaby.
I have made a request to the two of you, Honorable Malim and Honorable Sangon, to meet aside of the proceedings and thresh out those issues. Honorable members, this is what I want to do. When we go to take the last three speakers, that is Honorable Sangoni, Honorable Nola and Honorable Shongwe. They are going to run uninterrupted. If there are any follow-up questions, they will come after they would have asked their questions. Can we restrain ourselves to that? It's now almost 20 minutes past 5. So we must run for 45 minutes, which will be 5 minutes after 6. You are going to come in that order. Honorable Ngola.
Thank you very much, Chair.
And then when your time expires, you pass the microphone to Honorable Sangoni. And then Honorable Sangoni will pass the microphone to Honorable Shongwe. That is how we hand over the flame. Thank you.
Thanks, Chair. I will hand over to Honorable Sangoni the same way South Africa handed over the G20 chairmanship to America. Chair, thanks very much, Chair. CFO, it is alleged that many SAPS officials would have benefited some few rands and few millions from the 260 million tender. Did you benefit?
No, Chair.
Otherwise, given a chance to solicit some benefits, you would?
I have never. And I will
It's
never.
just a matter of not getting the opportunity.
And I will never do that.
Okay, so I heard you are with the people from the risks management. Was awarding such a massive tender to a newly established company with no massive experience of that kind of work not a financial risk?
The tender was advertised, Chair. Companies competed, and the relevant committee said to award this in terms of the rules of tender awards in this particular regard. there would have been requirements that those that would have tendered would have had to meet. So if the BEC and the BAC would have gone through that process and agreed that the tender...
CFO, pause there. The due process you are telling us, we know. And that due process does not mean that the department did all it can to ensure that a credible company is appointed. Hence the internal audit arrangement has dismissed what you are telling us now, that there's been irregularities. The point I'm making was awarding such huge work to a company, a service provider that barely has experience in doing that work, not a financial risk.
It was.
It was. Thank you. Is it the reason the company was terminated for poor performance?
The company was terminated upon conclusion of the investigation that was sanctioned between the executive authority and the accounting officer, and the irregularities that were picked up.
No. The minister in 2024 made an instruction that there must be a termination of that company based on poor performance. The program following that was a process program done by the National Commissioner, but the decision was there. So the question is, was it based on the basis of the capacity and the lack of experience that the company was unable to perform up to the expected standards?
I'm not aware that those were the reasons.
Okay. So you continued budgeting for the PKTT beyond 2022?
Beyond?
2022.
Yes.
We have evidence with us that the PKTT's existence beyond 2022 was irregular. What's your view on that? So did you budget for an irregular structure?
I'm not aware of any determination that has been put before us that post 2022 the PKTT was irregular. When such indications was made and I followed the evidence, I indicated that I immediately appointed a experienced person to conduct this assessment for me. I'm not aware. I have received indication from the accounting officer together with the operational environments that work is continuing on the PKTT and it requires to be supported. So I have sanctioned for such an assessment. Such assessment will then tell us whether indeed this is irregular. However, the person that I had appointed seemed to have consulted the legal environment, and it is being recommended that let's allow the work of this committee together with the commission to conclude, then we embark on this particular process. I'm not aware, no structure has raised this.
So CFO, you admit here in front of us that you led a process of budgeting for a structure in SAPS whose standing, whose credibility is not known. You are not aware whether it's regular or irregular.
Nobody
but
has,
you continue budgeted
it
for
has
it.
not been raised or flagged by any assurance provider as being irregular. And
But
there
the
is
minister said that in
there
with
is
us.
no determination that has been conducted that I'm aware of that has declared the structure irregular.
But the minister said that to us.
I would not be in a position to then comment on that. We need to then have a thorough assessment that will give us an indication in this regard.
Okay. So, are you aware whether or not the term or the existence of the PKTT was actually extended beyond 2023?
As I indicated, Chair, I do not participate in the IMC structures. The National Commissioner together with the project team leader are in a best position to answer that. What comes to me is a process that would have been sanctioned by the accounting officer to say work is continuing and it needs to be supported.
Okay, I see that the budget patterns of the PKTT change from one year to the other and all that. There is no stable budget or there is no stable tariff in terms of how you budget for the PKTT? What factors influence that?
It will be, the main factors would be the cost estimates that are submitted by the project leader. Obviously, they would have taken into account the work that needs to be done, that still needs to be done, the investigations and so on and so on. And they do estimates in terms of the numbers, if they need to increase the numbers or reduce the numbers. So we receive the cost estimates from the project team leader, having analyzed and assessed and took decisions in this regard.
You hold strong views that the PKTT must be deactivated. Why?
As a temporary structure, so that a permanent structure could be put in place, and from a budgeting point of view, it will make it easier for me to project, to budget, as well as to allocate resources that will support this team, and to ensure accountability, so that there is a permanent head. Should there be a misuse of resources, I know, then there is a permanent head who must account for this. So it was purely from a budget as well as a resource management point of view.
Was the PKTT the most expensive task team within SAPS?
Not necessarily.
It was not.
It was not.
Okay. Do you bill other arms of state when you have deployed officers to help in the work they are doing? For example, if Parliament is holding SONA, you deploy high-ranking officials of SAPS. Do you bill Parliament for that work?
There are events that would have been arranged by other environments, other departments, where a commitment letter, I will demand a commitment letter, working together with the head of VIP protection or protection services, and those departments will then commit, and we then do an interdepartmental claims. There is work that the VIP protection unit as well as the protection services is their mandate to then do. Events, policing in terms of issues of SONA and all those, this is the mandate of that particular program 5. But there are instances where other events where we do not have money, then there will be an agreement with the organizing department that there is a commitment letter. Post that event, then we then submit and facilitate an interdepartmental claim.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Honorable Sanguni, the baton is yours.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Good afternoon once again, General. General, tell me how many women serve in the executive management? Well, not SMS. You know, the lieutenant generals. How many women are there?
It's a bit in the afternoon. I cannot recall from the top of my mind. But one thing I know is that in terms of the PCs, we have succeeded to have more than 50% of women. Then we have quite a few at the divisional commissioner level, as well as the deputy national commissioner, who is General Musikiri. So we have done well as an organization to ensure that we empower women and women serve in these positions in this regard.
Okay. Now, I was asking you just to give you, a break, chill from these hard questions, but also to congratulate you. I think some members have said during the course of the day that you clearly know your work. I think, you've given us confidence in you and the work that you're doing.
Thank you, Chair.
But what I wanted to check with you, General, you said you heard about this decision to disband the PKTT from the media on the 2nd of January. What was your reaction when you heard that? What did you think of the decision?
I was on leave, as I indicated, which had commenced on the 17th of December. I had gone away, and on the 2nd, then I watched TV, and I saw this reporting was still continuing. What I then did, I sent a message to the acting CFO, just wanting to find out whether perhaps my office was included in terms of the discussions, and of which she confirmed no. And then I left it at that. I believed that perhaps a decision would have been, or discussion would have ensued between the National Commissioner and the Minister, because it is a decision that must be taken at that level.
Did you think it was a correct decision, though, that the Minister took?
At that time, I wouldn't make anything of the decision. Like I said, I was on leave. One would have assumed that when you go on leave, work continues. Perhaps there would have been engagements between the two leaders and they would have taken that decision. So it was a matter that one would have then be briefed properly when they come back from leave. But for me, all I did was to check with the acting CFO if perhaps there was a formal meeting where discussions were held, and then...
So you had no personal view one way or the other?
Nothing.
Okay.
Nothing.
Okay, so over the course of these, this inquiry, General, we've gotten the sense that, you know, there seems to be two camps, people are taking sides. Have you taken a side in this matter?
On this matter?
Yes.
Never. I do not take sides. I am appointed to assist the accounting officer to execute his or her responsibility, and that's all I do. Because we are employed to ensure that we provide a service which is to combat crime and ensure that the people of this country are safe. For me, those issues are a waste of time, and we need to ensure that we earn our salaries when we leave work every day. So I do not take sides, I do not participate in such issues.
Maybe let me ask it differently. Ne? At the end of the day, this inquiry is established to probe the allegations that General Mkhwanazi would have made, right? And at the heart of it is this issue of PKTT, drug cartels and what. And we've had to wade through a whole lot of evidence that you end up not knowing what is right, what is wrong anymore. So if you were to have a view, do you think that General Mkhwanazi, in terms of the issues that he raised, was correct? And indeed that the Minister, General Sibia and them were wrong or are involved in these cartels? What would be your personal view?
My personal view would be, obviously we will have to wait for the committee to conclude its work as well as the commission. General Mkhwanazi did right by raising these issues. If there are issues that are preventing us from doing our job as public servants, those issues ought to be raised in this particular regard. But in terms of who's wrong, who's right, I believe as same and similar as South Africans, one would then allow the committee to proceed with its work and to produce a report, including the commission.
Okay, so Vice Admiral Monde Lobese, who is the Chief of the Navy, goes in public, addresses a gala dinner, and he says he believes that the South African Navy is being defunded by government, and he thinks at the core of it is these issues of either selling out or drug cartels. You've given quite a bit of testimony or evidence that speaks to the fiscal constraints that SAPS is facing and the difficulties. Would you agree with Vice Admiral Lobese?
Chair, I can't comment on the SNDF comment.
As it relates to SAPS, do you think that SAPS is also being consciously defunded to promote perhaps nefarious ends?
We, working within the finance environment, understand the macro issues of the country. We do participate duly in terms of processes that are there and put on the table by National Treasury. We make our submissions. We always make submissions that are over and above what is currently available. And we hope that one day the macroeconomic situation of the country will improve, and we will be having resources in abundance to ensure that we all are able to deliver the service that we are tasked to deliver as government departments.
Thanks, CFO. And I'm really relying on your, your accomplishments, your qualifications, because I would think that in the environment that you are in, you would understand fiscal pressures, you would understand the priorities and choices that have to be made. So your submission is that you do not believe that the SAPS is being intentionally defunded, but there's macroeconomic pressures on the country that are leading to these issues?
I don't believe that government will intentionally want to put the SAPS in particular into a position that where we will be unable to do our work. It is our wish that one day we will have these resources and we will be able to, there are competing priorities in government. We'll be able to have adequate resources to be able to service this country as expected.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, so now speaking about these priorities and choices that you have had to make, I know Honorable Ango did ask you this, but I want you to be specific. So you don't budget for the PKTT. You have these requests that come up every year, and then you have to take money from elsewhere. What is suffering while you are funding the PKTT? Where exactly? I mean, you've been there since 2019, so it's been a number of funding cycles. Where have you taken money from to fund PKTT?
I don't want us to say something is suffering as a result of PKTT. As I indicated, we receive allocation from National Treasury annually. And there are priorities that we canvass with the National Commissioner through the relevant structures, finance committees, and those priorities are put on the table. There will always be limitations. The needs will always surpass the resources that you have. At this point in time, we do have a dire need in terms of technology in the organization. I'm sure you would have heard in various forums that we need to ensure that we upgrade our technology, and our technology is on par with other organizations in this regard. So the work that the PKTT is doing is important because it is investigative work. It is work that deals with issues that are troubling the country. So you can say the allocation to PKTT is not important, the other one is important. So it's an issue of competing priorities, and we try our level best to ensure that there are cost containment issues. We block the systems to ensure that where there are inefficiencies, we are able to manage those things. We have implemented blocks to deal with the so-called non-core items, and there's quite a lot that SAPS is doing
Thank you,
in this
CFO.
particular regard.
Thank you, CFO. I mean, I know I got a bit of time because Honorable Ngola left me some, but thank you so much. I got you there. Chair, on the, Honorable Ngola raises this question, and I want to follow up on it. Around the funding of the PKTT. Now, you say it was not unauthorized, irregular, whichever word it is in terms of a structure, right? But the minister on the 31st of December says, shut down this thing immediately. That directive is being implemented. You have meetings where you meet, you discuss disbandment, but then money is then allocated again to the PKTT, which both General Mkhwanazi, Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi and General Masemula came to testify on. Why was money being allocated when a directive from the minister has come out to say shut it down?
Okay, I want to put it on record that I have not been part of any meeting that has discussed
Oh,
this
my
directive.
apologies. It was
Yeah.
Lieutenant General Musigiri. But in your knowledge, why would you? I'm assuming you would have played a part in approving something the minister said must be disbanded.
So in April, when you then are confronted with a situation where you have to advise the organization and assist the organization to distribute funding to cost centers, I approached the National Commissioner that I'm aware of this directive, I'm aware of these issues. As the finance office, when am I going to get an indication to say, do I fund, do I not fund? The accounting officer then says, reserve funding, we will come to you. There is work that must still be done in terms of this particular PKTT reserve funding, and we will come to you, perhaps on a month-to-month basis to then deal with this. So I'm aware that there were meetings that were taking place to discuss the directive, but I was not part of such meetings. So I rely on the instruction as well as the indication by the National Commission in terms of what needs to happen when it comes to the work and the support of the PKTT.
Okay, so you asked him because you knew it had been disbanded.
I asked him.
All right. Now, you approved, I'm assuming, because I can't find the documents, or maybe let me ask it like this. What is the delegation, what is the amount, the delegation that you have for approvals of payments? Who would have paid the money that was paid to Mr. Matlala's company? Who would have approved that?
As I indicated, we have a national policy that regulates the payment of suppliers in the
CFO.
department.
Were you the one who approved it?
No.
Who would have approved it?
The end user?
No, the payment. The end user gives you the certificates and says this issue
Oh,
is
as I indicated, the system and the policy indicates which process starts where. my office's process is the final leg where we release money into the bank account. There are officials that are delegated to do that. It is not done by the CFO, but it is officials within my office.
So who would have released this particular payment? I mean, I'm sure you would have found out by now.
The section that deals with everything medical is headed by a Major General and there's a Brigadier. The final payments are released by the Brigadier who is in that space that works in my office. Obviously, that function is in my office and the final payment is done in my office, but it's a Brigadier who is within my office that is delegated to do these payments.
Okay, and 50 million you don't look at, it's too small money for the CFO to look at?
It was 48, we stopped
48.
other invoices.
Okay, 48 is below your delegations?
I do not do the actual payment.
Okay. Now, when this Brigadier and the Major General received this request for a payment of 48 million, outside of the fact that the end user would have certified that they've received the service, and I'm asking you this, CFO, please don't think we're here to get you. We're not trying to get anybody. We're trying to understand what are the systemic and perhaps governance failures that exist in the system, right? So when they get this certification from the user, are there any probity checks? Is there any due diligence that's done in your office now, or do they just press the button and the money goes? Are you our last line of defense or a post box?
There would be those that will verify, will then, the segregation of duties will capture and then finally approve in this particular regard. As I indicated, Chair, there are sufficient safeguards within the system, within the policy. You would understand that procurement takes place across the country. So there are sufficient safeguards. And when you look, there's a paragraph on the determination test report. The investigator even went into that particular field and interviewed those brigadiers, and he came to a conclusion that in terms of the financial space, there are sufficient safeguards. This particular issue was an issue of an irregular contract that was issued in contravention with supply chain processes.
Okay. Let me ask you my last two questions. I'll ask them as one question. So it's on this issue that Honorable, wait, I cannot ask the national shutdown. You see, Honorable Malema is right. I also looked at that amount of the national shutdown, 348 million for a one-day event, which was the march. When you approve the allocation of such funding, 1 billion rand more or less for the July 21 unrest, when you approve such amounts, can you give us a sense of what goes into 350 million rand to safeguard, protect, serve the country on a one-day event? And can we take it that every time there's a march in this country, you are spending amounts of that nature?
Our role as the police is to ensure that we safeguard the citizens and of this country, including their properties. One of our core responsibilities is to ensure that there is public order. So if there is a march, we have a responsibility as the police to ensure that we indeed execute our mandate, which is to ensure that the citizens are safe and we protect their properties. There would be marches and there would be provinces that are affected.
CFO, sorry,
Plans
you're not
are made.
answering me, and my time is running out. You're not answering me because I want to know, from your experience as a CFO, what could possibly cost 350 million to safeguard, serve, protect the country on a march that is one day? So maybe just paint us a picture and then link to that. I said, is this the quantum of money that's spent when there is a march?
Security plans are not done in one day. If there is something planned, security plans kickstart days before. And on the day of the event, it is execution. So the work of the police is very wide.
Okay,
So
so
there would be-
350 million is justifiable in
There
your
would be
General,
overtime.
can you please stop speaking? Can we take Honorable Shongwe?
But my time hasn't finished. Ukala gave me time.
The The last speaker is Honorable Shongwe. Your time starts now.
Sawubona mama. Kunjani?
All right, thank you.
Ngiyaphila. Ngicela ungisondelele ku mic angikuzwa kahle ne. Uyakhona ukukhuluma mama sixoxe?
Kiyabua, Chair.
Wabuwa ukabuwa unataka.
Yes.
Quick one. Imali yama South Africans idliwa mama uyavuma?
Chair, can I request
Chalete ya di South Africans idliwa wadumela.
which money, Chair?
In the tenders, the 360 million tender.
The investigation will tell us what has
But when
happened.
wadumela orijiwa or ayajiwa
Kimang, Chair.
by the perpetrators.
Sorry?
You think ayajiwa? Are you investigating something that you believe money was taken or not?
Money were paid to this tender that has come out as a tender that it was allocated irregularly. That is why we are investigating to ensure that that monies that were paid, if then there is possible recovery, we recover from those that would have been responsible.
So wadumela or there might be a possibility to reach.
There could be a possibility.
All right. And this thing happened when I only CFO. Wadumela.
Yes.
Okay. Matlala ufile your tender. This new tender at 360 million while you were CFO. We have room.
There was a tender committee, bid adjudication committee that looked into that and allocated. I do not participate in those committees.
But you were CFO.
Yes, I'm CFO.
We have room.
Yes.
Thank you. Asiqhubeke ma'am. One thing I'm seeing here, General, ukugula okufanayo between you and General Fanny. There is no way you guys want to take responsibility through your officers. And we understand that your officers are the last line of defense. I want us to deal with that right now so that we understand whether you know which you are the last line of defense or you don't know. Are we clear on that, Mama? Can we go through that line?
It's fine, Chair.
Thank you very much. General Fanny is having a position where you said you have been in the supply chain. Can you hear me? You said you were once in the supply chain, right? And now you are a CFO, which means it's easy for you to pick up if the General Fanny did something wrong, right? Or maybe missed something. Did he miss anything in this thing, early tender?
General Fanny reports to the National Commissioner.
Okay, ma'am.
In terms of the
where
work-
does General Fanny report?
To the National Commissioner.
Sengikubuzele lowo mbuzo ungasawuphendula. Asiye ngapha. Do you think General Fanny missed something?
As he was working on the issue of the tender,
Regarding this tender, yes.
the investigation has revealed such.
Has revealed such.
Yes.
Do you suspect bekahlanganisela uMatlala something or what?
I cannot comment on that. The investigation must reveal
Okay.
such.
So, Kasipedi wadumela or there's something wrong that happened in that tender.
The investigation has revealed that this tender was awarded irregularly.
So should we blame General Fanny?
He should take responsibility. The accounting officer must take responsibility in terms of having delegated this work to the BAC to deal with on his behalf. So both of them must take responsibility.
Okay. Let's park that and we'll come back. Nasi siakirati muchomo kholobulela maka, especially when my name is used in a space where maka atlobulela with using my name. I want us to establish ukuthi the minister is therefore in your own, okay, let me say in my words, but taking from you, the minister has lied about you and said you knew about the budget. He came to you or spoke to you about the budget of the PKTT.
The minister did not say that. When I followed the proceedings, when he was asked if he had discussed with the CFO, the minister said no.
Didn't the
In terms
minister
of
say
the
he had consulted your office?
No. His response was no. I did not consult the CFO.
And he took his decision on his own?
He took the decision on his own.
Okay. Do you think that was correct?
One would have thought such a decision would have been canvassed with the accounting officer.
Come again?
one would have thought that that decision would have been discussed or taken through consultation with the accounting officer.
All right, let's go back to that one now. When Matlala was given this tender through a new company, what did your office do? Or what did you do? Since you've picked up this thing, you're the one who picked up this irregularities, right?
I indicated that a report was given to me to say this is possible irregular expenditure. My responsibilities will then unfold as follows. I recorded this and reported it accordingly in terms of the books of SAPS, and it was duly audited by the external auditors. After cancellation, we then also instructed my office to stop payments in this regard.
Okay. Please recommend to us, what should the Parliament recommend when it comes to general fund? What should we do, Mofan?
Those that would have been responsible for these lapses must be held to account.
Must be held to account?
Yes.
What would you recommend to us? Angene venini noma simlethela eKhoshimampuru simshiye la or
It will depend on the outcome of the investigations and its recommendations.
Okay, in your tenure as CFO, has anybody been arrested? In your tenure as CFO, has anybody been arrested or found to have misused money, abused overtime money and all this? Has anybody been arrested or fired or dismissed?
There are arrests that continuously take place. There's recently a brigadier and another official who arrested. They previously worked in supply chain management, and then they were suspended. So those arrests as well as those disciplinary processes are processes that are normally unfolding. If an investigation has been concluded and it has found that those relevant officials were responsible.
I'm almost done, ma'am. 2021, during the COVID time, COVID-19, two officers come to you. Actually, they spoke to you on a virtual meeting regarding the misuse and the abuse of overtime in the PPS. Have you fixed the issues of overtime abuse in the PPS?
I cannot recall the meeting that the member is referring to, Chair. The issues of overtime within Program 5 are issues that we continuously discuss between ourselves, the program managers, the accounting officer, and also looking at the issues of sustainability in this particular regard. We have discussions with Treasury in this regard, and all of us are aware of the pressures that talks to the overtime within that environment, and that it needs to be fixed. So it's a matter that almost all of us are continuously discussing to find long-lasting and sustainable solutions to curtail as well as contain overtime costs within that program.
So since 2021, you are discussing that misuse of abuse, the abuse of, the abuse of overtime.
I am saying this is a matter that is receiving attention.
From 2021. Let me remind you of this meeting. First, let me start here. These two officers came to you and reported that in the protection services, the PPS, there is abuse of overtime money during the COVID time. Your answer to them was, you don't want to involve yourself in politics.
Who are those members, Chair? I cannot recall this
I will
meeting.
give you their names in writing.
I cannot recall this meeting, and
You
I am not aware of this meeting.
Okay, let's go exactly where you recall and remember. You're saying now, since these members reported this member to you on 2021, how long in your knowledge have you been discussing this matter?
Chair, I cannot recall the meeting. I am saying...
Disregard the meeting. How long in your knowledge have you been discussing indaba ye abuse ye overtime lapha ya ku PPS?
Chair, we know that overtime is a cost driver within Program 5. We are continuously looking for ways to ensure that we sustain that program in terms of
General,
this
I am
cost
a very
driver.
fair person. Let me do this. What are you continuously doing? Let me give you your own question so that you can answer it. Then you come back to mine. What are you continuously doing?
For example, we have had discussions in terms of the possible review of the policy. We have also made submissions and discussions in terms of the areas that we believe that the current existing policies could be improved to ensure that then we sustain
Thank you very much,
the
General. Let's cut
overtime.
it there. That would have been the question to your answer. I was fair, I gave you your own question to your own answer. Can you answer my question? How long have you been discussing the misuse or the abuse of overtime money in the PBS?
Chair, overtime that is utilized in that particular program, it's overtime, it is a cost driver. When you say discussing abuse, we don't gather around the table and discuss abuse. We discuss in terms of what are the cost containment as well as efficiencies that we can put in place to ensure that we sustain the cost of overtime, which is a cost driver in those environments. We discuss with the program managers, the accounting officer. We have even made recommendations working together with the program managers to National Treasury to support us through the relevant parliamentary structures to ensure
And
that
for how
the
long has this been happening?
The policy is then reviewed in this particular regard.
What I'm trying to get, General, is how efficient are you guys? How long do you take to fix this zinto as moshakalayo? Because remember, by the time you guys take long to fix this thing, if these people reported 2021 and you are failing to answer me within your own knowledge, how long have you and your leaders been discussing issue of abuse?
Chair, I'm
I
not
want to
aware.
know how long.
Chair, I'm not aware of this meeting.
Okay,
So I cannot talk about this
meeting. But how long, how long have you guys been discussing the misuse of that overtime money?
Chair, we continuously
Continuously, from when maybe?
look at ways
From?
to put efficiencies in terms of managing this cost driver, which is
Okay, in
overtime.
order to
within
continue, you
program
must start
five.
somewhere. From where? From when did you start discussing such?
Chair,
such a
I
thing as
took
your own?
over as CFO in 2019.
So since 2019 you've
We
been discussing this
monitor,
matter.
we put cost containment, we communicate, we ensure that the managers are then held
Impendulo ngiyithola la
responsible for
ngayifunda
this.
khona. Okay, thank you. Let's go to this last question. General Wali Rode, Yamas.
Yes.
He was advised not to buy 2 cars that were not office spec of VIP protection vehicle. Do you know of that story?
No, I do not know, Chair.
Okay, I may put it on record that it was in your tenure.
Sorry.
Ngizokutshela ke manje, I'm going to tell you, ne? Please go do something about it. What I'm going to tell you, please go
The
do something
voice
about
is
it.
a bit soft. I struggle to hear.
Okay. This is information I'm giving you, and I want you to come back to me in writing with what are you going to do or zoyenza, right? General Wale Rode bought 2 cars from a company in Pretoria and was advised not to do so. These 2 cars didn't meet the spec of VIP protection vehicles, but he continued to do so. Since I've told you now, on the top of your head, what are you going to do about it, or should I wait for the letter?
I'm not certain who would have advised. It is a matter that I'm not aware of, Chair.
Okay.
It is a matter that one could follow up.
All right, Chair. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you so much, Honorable Shongwe. General, thank you so much. All the speakers have been given an opportunity to ask their questions to you. Allocated maximum time, they have asked you questions. The very last session of this proceedings today is for me sitting here as the chair to check with honorable members, those who want to ask you follow-up questions, to raise their hands now. Okay. When I recognize you, you lower the hand. Honorable Matthews, you will be number 1. Honorable Nomvalo, number 2. Honorable Skosana, number 3. Honorable Sanguni, number 4. Honorable Mwango, number 5. Honorable Sols, number 6. and the last hand is that of Honorable James. Yeah, I'm coming to the question before you ask the question. Can I check if there is any honorable member who may be potentially triggered by other members when they ask questions, so that I must prepare myself sitting here as the chair that there are going to be triggers. So you will be the last Honorable Malim.
No, I didn't hear the apology of the DA members. All they did, they came here and left filthy place here. I don't understand how these DA people work. Dirty, they come to prison and make it dirty and leave.
And the chair,
So I don't know if there is apology about this people.
I will explain that before we close the proceedings.
Chair, while you are going to explain that, please explain what last night they slept while you were on a meeting with the A. They slept, we finished the meeting while they were sleeping. Again, when Honorable came here, she was sleeping during the meeting. Then they left early to sleep. Chair, please attend to the sleeping.
Okay. So we have 8 members who want to ask follow-up questions. Less than 3 minutes each. There is nobody who goes beyond 3 minutes, and honorable members, it is not debatable. And you know when a player remonstrates with the referee after the whistle has been blown, you are inviting a yellow card to yourself. Honorable Matthijs.
Start again, Chair. Thank you. Are we starting again? Thank you. Lieutenant General, what informs the security threat? And you know we were not going to let this go about the EFF, the amount of money that was allocated to a protest, which is covered in the Constitution. Every citizen, any political party, any movement has a right to protest. So for you to agree to this amount of money to be allocated, what was the security threat and what was it based on? Because EFF, we've been in existence since 2013. Never ever has there been any criminality, and we are an organization in the streets all the time. So it can't be that so much money can be allocated to a peaceful organization that has been in the streets protesting against an ANC government who kills workers for protesting for a living wage, against the ANC government who kills children because they cannot even provide pet toilets, or they cannot provide proper toilets, and our children are being killed in school. So please talk to us about that.
Chair, on paragraph 8 of my statement, I indicated that while I oversee financial operations, it is crucial to understand that my role does not extend to operational decisions. There are those that are responsible for operations in the organization.
Okay.
There are those that are responsible.
I'm being sabotaged by the GNU now.
Just a moment, Honorable Matthijs, may you please have your microphone on?
Okay.
And I'm reminding you for the last time, I'm not going to compensate any time that is lost when the microphone is
that
off.
the committee can't provide proper resources. No, you answered that question, CFO. I'm asking something specific. I'm saying when it comes to you, what do you need to know before you make a decision that this is a reasonable amount, not getting involved in operations? 470 million rand for a one-day protest, peaceful organization.
There is an operational plan that would have been crafted taking into account. I would have a request in front of me to say there is an operation that is taking place. It requires support at this particular level. And I have got no reason not to trust what would have informed those operational decisions.
Then CFO, it's like you're the bookkeeper, because you're not asking hard questions. So you just get a report and then you just pay. I also just want to talk quickly about proof of payments, right? You, there was a concern that there was proof of payments that were generated from your office, right? And then we had individuals who were not SAPS members that were using these POPs to approach service providers. Are you aware of that? It was...
I'm not aware, and I believe I do have faith in my office that the members working in my office.
So
would
there was
not-
no proof of payments?
not done. I have heard during consultation that there was a brigadier that would have engaged in that exercise, and I can confirm that that brigadier does not work in my office.
So how would they have gotten the POP?
Sorry?
How would they have gotten the POP?
I have got no idea. The
But it's
investigation.
from your office. Are you still investigating?
The brigadier is not in my office. This is a part and parcel of the ongoing investigation.
Okay. Hey, okay, it feels like we have gotten into the same vibe as Lieutenant General Fani with don't know and not responsible, but thank you, CFO.
You still had 1 minute left. Are you done? Okay. Next, Honorable Nomba.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. General, not in the context of the Medicare contract, but generally, when the two scenarios coexist, irregular appointment, poor services, can there be value for money?
If there is an indication to say there is poor service, as I indicated, and those that would have requested these services and would have attested to say they have received the service in the correct quantity and time. And
No,
so
I can't
on.
hear you properly.
I'm saying the certification of the services that were provided is done by those that would have requested these services in terms of the end user. If they certify that I requested this service, I have received this particular service, and they then certify and they upload these invoices in the system. If it is found that they did these certifications incorrectly and they participated in unethical conduct.
Yeah, no. All that process has been satisfied, and the determination that has been made is that the service was poor. Poor service, irregular appointment, can there be value for money? Please don't
Irregular,
explain the process because I've got limited time.
irregular expenditure is expenditure incurred in contravention to supply chain processes. The service provider renders the service. The end user certifies that the service was rendered. They upload the invoices. I'm saying if that certification was fraudulent, we need to get to the bottom of this. That is what I'm saying.
But I'm not getting a direct response. I mean, a determination has been made that the service was poor.
The determination test confirmed that this contract was awarded in contravention with supply chain processes and thereby making it irregular, an irregular award.
Okay, then the EFF national shutdown took 1 day. The July unrest took almost a month, if my memory serves me well. And the amount spent in the July unrest was 900 and something million. So my mathematics is failing me in that regard. Does that make sense that a shutdown that took 1 day cost 400 and something million, and the unrest which took almost a month cost 900 and something million? Maybe there's something wrong with my mathematics.
These are the cost of public order duties that we perform in this country. So these are some of the, sometimes we call them diversions, where our resources are diverted to go deal with such public order.
No, but maybe my question is the curation not impactful? The curation of the service, or the curation of the, in this context, of the national shutdown, does it not have an impact that this one was 1 day and therefore the cost can't reach a certain amount?
Chair, I rely on the operational environments they would have applied their minds, they would have done a threat assessment, and they would have come to a conclusion to say the security plan
Okay, so
must
it-
be
it-
executed
so
in
it
this
makes
fashion,
sense- it
and
makes-
it must be supported with this kind
So
of
it
resources.
makes sense to you, CFO, that the shutdown, the national shutdown of the EFF cost 400 and something million, and it took only 1 day, whereas the July unrest took almost a month, but it cost 900 and something million. So that makes sense according to you.
Chair, as I indicated, the operational environments will be best suited to deal with this. The July unrest, my understanding would be, it was more prevalent in a bit of more than one province, and you needed to then support those provinces with additional manpower in this regard. And when you then deploy
May
additional...
you please stop speaking. Honorable Skosan.
Thank you, Chair. CFO, do you still remember, you know, why we are so inquisitive about this matter? Do you still remember that we had an issue with PPEs? Do you still remember that?
Yes.
We had an irregular expenditure of 1.6 billion at SAPS. Do you remember that?
There was an issue on PPEs, Chair.
CFO, I'm putting figures. 1.6 billion irregular expenditure, which was found at South African Police Service. Do you agree with me on that?
Chair, I cannot recall the figure from the top of my head, but I do know that there was an issue of irregular expenditure surrounding the PPEs.
And do you still remember that there were some verbal approvals of millions of rands during the COVID period? Do you remember that?
Verbal approvals from who, Chair?
I'm talking about, I'm talking about SAPS here. And remember, we are the CFO. Now, I'm saying all these monies which were paid, I don't want to name companies because it would be like I'm starting afresh. I'm just saying to you that our concern as members of of the taxpayers' money, it's not something personal. Hence, I'm reminding you that is not the first time. It's not only about this Kate Matlala's tender, which invokes all what I'm talking about now, to say, under your watch, there was this issue of PPEs, which it was found by the AG, no, not me, that it was irregular. So what I'm asking you, do you agree? And I said to you that the issue as well was that some of these tenders, there was verbal agreement.
Chair, at the time
Verbal
of procurement surrounding the PPEs, I did not participate in those committees, as I have indicated, Chair. I have indicated that there is a culture in the organization that we must deal with to ensure that there is real consequences so that it serves as a deterrent. But during the era where procurement was made in terms of PPEs, I did not serve in any of the structure that
No, I understand
anyone verbal authorization. And so
I
on and so
understand
on.
that, CFO.
My understanding, Chair, is that investigations have been made and there have been relevant reportings. I did not participate and I did not give
Yeah, but CFO.
anyone verbal authorization in this.
But CFO, have you paid for all those invoices? Who paid the invoices?
The invoices, as I indicated, there is a policy that governs the payment of service providers. At the end, if the end user has certified that I've received services and they load those invoices, we then, at the end of the value chain, it is my office that will then release those payments.
With due respect, at the end of the day, if you are not concerned about what I'm talking about, you are going to pay invoices which speak people did not even work for. Ghost, what they call them, ghost invoices, because of what they send to you. If you don't satisfy yourself that those invoices are proper.
Chair, SAPS is a national department. It has a policy, and that policy provides for necessary safeguards. And we have the necessary safeguards.
All of you is now me speaking now. You stop speaking. Next, Honorable Sangon.
The benevolent is gone. The benevolent is gone. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair. CFO, you know, you've really spent a lot of time explaining to us the reporting lines, explaining to us the policies. We get it. We honestly get it. And I want to repeat what I said to you, that we're not trying to get you. Eh? But why is it that when it comes to areas that you should be accountable for, and I was looking at your statement where you list your responsibilities, and this is what I'm following up on the national shutdown, you don't know, it's operational decisions. What role do you play except for just signing off the money? On the issue of procurement, you don't know, it's somebody else. So what you do is sign off the money. Is the money safe then, CFO, if you don't apply?
It is very safe.
Can I finish, CFO, if you don't mind? Sorry. So that's the question, and I don't want to come back again. I want for you to just clarify on the issue that Honorable Shongwe was raising on overtime. You approved 1st of April to July 2025, 13.2 million rand for overtime for a period of 3 months, right?
For this year.
For the PKTT for 3 months. Whereas in 2024, 25, 2022, 23, the entire annual expenditure was 13 million in 2024-25, 15 million in 2023-24 for the year, but you approved 13 million for 3 months. Can you just take us through the thinking on that? Those are my only 2 questions. Thank you, Chair.
Chair, I do not approve. I am requested to...
Sorry, you recommended. Can you tell us why you recommended? I don't want us to quibble on words. Please, CFO, thanks.
I am requested to confirm if funds are available when those funding requests come to my table. The final approval is done by the accounting officer. Having taken into account the decisions in terms of operations and the plans and the threats, as well as those operational discussions that would have taken place, the submission comes to me to confirm if funds are available. And Chair and the committee, I can give you comfort that the SAPS funding is safe. To this end, we have not incurred any unauthorized expenditure. There are necessary safeguards. The problem comes in when individual officials go out of their way to then override controls and engage themselves in a wrong behavior. When we pick up that there is deliberate override of controls, of course, we do take the necessary steps in this regard.
Sorry, DDG. So are you saying to us your only responsibility is to say, yes, there's money, no, there's no money? As a DDG, sorry, Lieutenant General, you don't apply yourself beyond the fact that there's money, there's no money?
I do, Chair. That is why I would raise those concerns with the line managers. That is why I will have conversations with the National Commissioner. That is why during executive meetings of BOC, I would raise this and point out the cost pressures so that management can take note. That is why we would have a cost containment policy. That is why we would have internal controls that we put in place. I do not just rubber stamp in this particular regard. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you so much. In future, please, man, make sure that you fund MK disturbance as much as you fund EFF disturbance. Now they are fighting here, wanting to know why you funded these ones small when you funded those ones big. Thank you.
I still stand by that commitment that the meeting must happen. Yeah. Okay, honorable members, we have the last 4 speakers. Honorable Mwango.
Thank you. Thank you. Chairperson. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Mine actually has to do with the 360 million rand tender. The first question is that when the General actually, in fact in her testimony, she said that as CFO, she only comes into the picture at the last leg of the process of the tender to do payment. But now the people who actually initiate this tender process, do they actually consult you whether there is still money in the kitty for them to do what they want to do? Number two, I am actually not very happy with the standard procedure with which you actually do business with people out there. I don't think that you actually do due diligence in terms of actually knowing and investigating the background check. You do background check of the people or potential people you want to do business with. Because otherwise, Mr. Matlala would not have actually won this tender if the police were actually doing due diligence in terms of background check. You know, right now you ended up with egg on your face because Mr. Matlala is here. He's a resident of this institution because he's a criminal. But the police went all the way out to actually grant him a tender for 360 million rand. How are you going to defend yourself when people start saying the police actually is captured by criminals because they are benefiting tenders from you?
Okay. Chair, if I may start with the first question. Annually, after we receive our annual allocation from National Treasury, we then embark on a process where we will then do what we call an internal apportioning, where we will distribute through an approved methodology allocation of budgets to provinces, to divisions in this particular regard. And the Health Risk Manager Services is a service that is there in SAPS. It is budgeted for. I think annually the budget is around 120 million in this particular regard. When it comes to the issues of checking background, I heard from the evidence that was led by General Fani to say the process needs improvement. In terms of this particular contract, the background check was not done, and it's something that should be a lesson that should be incorporated and improved in our processes to say this must be a must, it must not be optional. Thanks, Chair.
I still have time. Because if I still had time...
That is the last question you are asking.
Well, my last question would actually be to actually understand what actually prompted the National Commissioner to investigate this particular tender to a point where he deployed your internal audit, a structure within your department to investigate this tender. What prompted him to actually do so?
Other evidence that have been led, Chair, is that sometime during December, the executive authority called the National Commissioner together with supply chain management and others, I believe legal services was there, due to the negative media coverage that the department was receiving in terms of this tender, and instructed that this must be investigated. The National Commissioner subsequently appointed a team of internal auditors together with the risk management to then conduct that investigation. The report came out, first the preliminary report that indicated possible irregularities, and a final report was issued with recommendations that the accounting officer must consider cancelling this contract. Thanks, Chair.
Honorable Sols.
General, the fact that this contract was awarded to Mr. Matlala, is this proof that SAPS has been infiltrated by criminals?
Chair, I can't comment on that. General Fani led evidence to indicate that at the time when they conducted the award, background was not done and there was nothing in front of the BAC to determine that indeed the owner of this contract was a criminal. So, Chair, I can't vouch to say SAPS is captured. I'm saying those that are responsible for wrongdoing in SAPS must be held to account at any level, without any fear or favor. If anyone engages themselves with criminals and capture SAPS and corruption, the law must take its course without any fear or favor. Thanks, Chair.
I agree. You testified earlier that the minister had to speak to you directly and he didn't speak to you. You were not called by the minister. That's the words that you used. In terms of protocol and the chain of command, must the minister call you or your accounting officer, which is the National Commissioner?
Chair, I report directly to the accounting officer. There is nothing that prevents the minister can speak to all of us as executives, as long as the decisions and instructions would be known, and such meetings would have been authorized by the accounting officer. But in terms of protocol, most of us report to the accounting officer. Sometimes if we are then called, we will alert the accounting officer to say, there is this briefing, am I allowed to then attend this briefing, and it will be given. But there is nothing stopping the minister from engaging with officials in the department.
Sorry, General. So your answer is he's not required to call you, he must call the National Commissioner.
There is nothing stopping the minister from engaging with all of us in the department.
But he wasn't wrong in not calling you.
Sorry?
He was not wrong in not calling you, but he called the National Commissioner.
When, Chair?
All the meetings before us was with the National Commissioner. And you
depend on what is being discussed in that particular meeting. I am saying in the meetings that dealt with the issues of the disbandment and so on and so on, I was not part of that because I was not invited. Obviously, the National Commissioner would have identified the relevant role players.
But it is the National Commissioner in protocol that the minister should be calling for a report.
There is nothing that prevents the
Okay, just on that, before we go to there's nothing that prevents him, but what's the answer in what's protocol? Must he call you or must he call the National Commissioner?
The minister can call any official.
But who, in terms of protocol, who must he call?
The minister normally engages at the level of the accounting officer.
Which is?
The National Commission.
Honorable James.
Thank you, Chair. Am I audible? General, 368 million spent on a one-day shutdown. Do you realize how many vehicles and printers and cell phones that money could have bought for police stations in vulnerable communities? How do you justify 368 million? What was the risk grading of the shutdown? And how long did it take you to approve this? That's my one question. My second question, you also have the January 8th statement that was held earlier this year in the Western Cape. General Sibia came here and he told us that the entire SAPS top brass descended on the Western Cape. And he told this committee, it is normal practice, it happens every year. Now I want to ask you, how much did it cost SAPS to have the entire top brass here for the ANC January 8th statement? Because that involves accommodation, that involves flights, and how do you justify? Please don't tell me you don't have an amount for the January 8th, because that was yesterday. Thank you.
Chair, in terms of the evidence from General Sibia, Chair, I cannot vouch for that because I did not go to January 8. So it might be incorrect that the entire executive management or management of SAPS went to the January 8. I did not attend the January 8 in this particular regard. In terms of the risks, as I indicated, Chair, one of our responsibilities is to ensure that there is public order. We protect the safety of the inhabitants of this country as well as their properties. There would have been a proper security plan that would have informed the level of resources to police such down, and a request for us to support the work that would have been done by the operational environment would have been submitted in this particular regard. I do not believe that SAPS leadership would wake up and decide to then deal with things that
Sorry,
they would
General,
not
you're
have.
not answering my question. What was the risk grading?
I cannot recall, Chair, in terms of the security plan that was there, that in terms of the risk grading, I cannot
What
recall
risk
such.
grading will justify 368 million?
I believe a high risk.
Excuse me?
High risk?
High risk,
Yes.
which is what?
Sorry, Chair?
High risk in terms of what? Because you said you allocated this budget to support the one-day shutdown.
risk in
So
terms
it's a
of-
high-risk event. What do you mean it's a high risk?
In terms of ensuring that there is public order and the properties as well as the safety as well as order where these
So you were
arrests were
protecting
taking
properties.
place. Chair, there is a security plan led by the operatives. I normally do not have sight to that particular security plan, and we trust that plans as well as discussions as well as
My time is almost up. How much did you spend on the
It is
January
not
8th
almost,
statement?
it is up.
How much did you spend on the January
Honorable
8th
Zola.
statement?
Okay, thank you.
No, Chair.
Thank you, honorable members. It is not me here. I must tell the people who were not part of our meeting during the break. I was instructed by these committee members to come and enforce 15 minutes on each one of them. So I was showing them the effect of their decision. And if there is anyone who has a problem, it was their decisions. You know, by my own standards, I'm a very benevolent chairperson. But when members say strictly 15 minutes, I enforce it, and I did that. And thank you very much, honorable members. SC, we want to thank you so much. What are your comments?
Yeah, thank you, Honorable Chair, Honorable Members. Thank you, especially to my colleague, Sikalala. I think she did a great job today. Thank you. Okay, you don't want to hear me. Is that mic not working? Can you hear me, Chair? Thank you, Honorable Chair, Honorable Members. Thank you, General Tempani.
Thank you.
And I want to thank especially my colleague, Ms. Sikalala. I think she did an excellent job today in terms of leading the witness and making it possible for the committee to explore some further important aspects of the supply chain management, procurement procedures, very problematic. 1 weak link in the chain, and that's it, whether it's 350 million or 35 million or 3.5 million. We really need to check up our processes. But thank you for the work that you're doing. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair.
Advocate Zikalala, do you have anything you want to say?
No, Chair, thank you.
Okay. Let me thank you so much. When we gave you an opportunity last week to lead evidence, you did not disappoint us. You brought your best to the game. And today you continued with the same form, more than that, showing prowess and exuberance. So we want to thank you so much, so much for that. That is how people make use of the opportunities when they are given to them, and you have demonstrated that women can do it. Lieutenant General Dimpane, kwa Limpopo kwa ba magongwana o tshwara thipa ka bogaleng. Do you understand what that means?
Yes, Chair.
Yeah, you must put the palm of your hand on the sharp edge of the knife. I don't have any question that I must ask you. I think the questions that the honorable members have asked you are adequate. You have been the CFO of this department. You know the period that you have been appointed up to now. I can only advise you to go back and look at the things that could have been done differently during your tenure as the CFO, so that when you move forward or in your upward mobility, they must not disable your movement. Yes. That is the only advice I can give. The rest is for you to decide what you do. When you have been appointed to a position of leadership, there is only one choice that you must make. It's the choice to lead, because appointment itself is not sufficient. You must make the choice to lead. The women of this country and other women who may be occupying similar positions at senior management of the SAPS, you must be exemplary to many other women of this country, that you are not appointed to this position simply because you are women. You have been appointed to these positions because you qualify those appointments. And if you can't perform in an appointment that has been given to you, it means that appointment becomes questionable. So show us that you deserve to be there, and do the right things, help this government to move forward. Thank you so much. Honorable members, the witness has requested that we start at 11 o'clock tomorrow, and that we start at 10 o'clock on Thursday. Yeah. And then the matter of I see the media wanted to capture this part of the announcement. Let me do it again. The witness has requested that we start at 11 o'clock tomorrow, and then we start at 10 o'clock on Thursday. So we have agreed to that arrangement. We will start at those times as they would have been requested. The Democratic Alliance members of this committee have requested that they should be released because there was a matter that they had to go and attend to. And as the chairperson, I have granted them permission to leave. Thank you so much.
Yeah, but Chair, you must tell them to clean after themselves. That's a big problem. Environmental cleanliness is next to godliness. Cleanliness is next to godliness.
They will be here tomorrow. The first thing we do when we start the meeting,
they made the prison dirty.
Yeah. Honorable Skosana, may you please, I know you don't have eyes at the back. There is a hand of Honorable Shongwe.
Chair, you attended complaint by Honorable Malima only. That's favoritism, Chair. You didn't attend the complaint we have on DA sleeping at work last night, Chair. We finished the meeting at 11, they were sleeping. Please attend to it, Chair.
Yeah, no, I agree that the meeting finished at ungodly hours. Honorable members, the staff of Parliament, General Dimpani, members of the media and the South African public, we have unfortunately come to the end of today's proceedings. Let's meet here, Tswane, tomorrow, 11 o'clock.